Well, hello, my beautiful people in Facebook land. I'm going to try again to do a live stream and see, I'm just going to see if Facebook allows me to talk. Well, we're going to see what happens. We're going to play with this a little bit and see what happens. I don't know. It might not. So there we go. Anyways, so how y'all doing? How y'all doing today? I'm just sharing this out for a sec and I'll be right with y'all. Today I was going to continue with my tips for holiday survival for empaths, but you know what? I saw a couple of posts in empath groups and I decided that I wanted to talk about this. I saw more than one post about this. And I thought, geez, this is something that seems to be like a really big deal or something that's really on the minds of empaths out there. I'm trying to share this to my business page. That seems to be where Facebook messes me up and starts to mute me. I don't think it likes my business page. Facebook, you bastard. You bastard. Oh my gosh, please. So we'll see how long this lasts. So I saw a couple of posts in Facebook groups that I belong to that are empath-based Facebook groups. And one of them said, let me go find it here. One of them had said, how do any of you ever get over the fact that no one will ever love you as completely as you love them? Okay, this is referring to empaths who are naturally very feeling, very emotional, and I mean this in a good way, right? Very in touch with their feelings and tend to sometimes really go all in and really dive deep into relationships and connections. And I think we crave that back as well sometimes. And another post said, how has being an empath affected your love life? And there were a ton of responses, and a lot of them were negative. Like, it's hellish, it sucks, I keep attracting narcissists, like the whole thing went on and on about it. And so this was fascinating to me. It was fascinating to me because, and I was like, well, wow, that just made just pulled at my heartstrings, and my heart goes out because that's such limiting beliefs. Like, I just see that as such limiting beliefs about empaths and the ability to be in relationships. And I say this as somebody who really messed up in relationships, really attracted my own narcissistic relationships. I attracted abusive relationships. I attracted relationships that really just didn't serve me, that, didn't end well or really were tough to go through. I did all that. But here's the thing, and I'm going to say this with all the love in the world. And I say this because I want to empower empaths or help empaths to feel empowered and understand that what you have, being an empath is a gift. It's not some curse. It is a gift. And the fact that you do love so deeply and the fact that you feel very deeply is an amazing thing and can lead you to an incredible relationship that is deeply fulfilling and that really just brings you to your next higher level of consciousness or your next higher level of your being. However, we can also empaths can easily get into relationships that are draining, that you're over giving and the other person isn't reciprocating, or you can tend to attract those toxic relationships because we are such like an open book, and sometimes we're such an open, receptive, just this like energy sponge that sometimes it can attract those who take advantage of that, right? Those who really take advantage of that. But here's the thing, and I'm saying this with love because I want, again, empaths to feel empowered, not like, oh shit, I'm just destined to have crappy relationships and toxic relationships. It doesn't, because then I've seen a lot of empaths get hopeless about it. Like in these posts, like I'm just not meant to have a good relationship. I don't know how to have a healthy relationship. I keep attracting assholes. I don't know what to do. And I hate it. This sucks. Here's some work that I had to do. Here's a realization that I had to come to. Yes, I'm an empath myself, right? And I had to come to a very tough realization. It was very humbling realization. but it changed everything. Okay, it changed it all for me. And that was, I had to look at the common denominator in all of my relationships that didn't go well. Okay, I had to stop. I had to kind of surrender. First of all, I had to surrender and say, I had to surrender that the divine has my back. The universe has my back. That's what we work on. Like, we're empaths, we're intuitives. And if you're on your spiritual path, you're working under these principles of like law of attraction, manifestation, working with the divine, co-creating. You know, you have divine power inside of you. You have the divine energy, and you're co-creating with the universe. So, and we're always manifesting. So with that in mind, part of this is surrendering to the universe that you're being brought these toxic relationships over and over and over again, not because you're cursed, not because you suck or they suck, but because you're being asked to learn something out of this. You're being presented with a lesson over and over and over again, and your awareness is just going at the pace it's meant to go. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or that you screwed up or you have to look back and beat yourself up with regret. It means that your soul came into this human body to learn some lessons and to experience some things, even though it's hard for our human mind to wrap around that. 'Cause we're like, why the hell would I ask for this shit? Like, why would I ask for an abusive relationship? We can get very, very far down the kind of victim spiral doing that. And I'm not saying you weren't hurt. I'm not saying or minimizing what happened to you. I've had some pretty traumatic things happen to me as well. Like, I'm speaking from a place of someone who's been through more than one traumatic situation. So, but that can become our identity. Oh, I'm an empath. I always attract toxic relationships. Oh, I don't know how to manage my energy. I'm always just absorbing toxic shit. Or, oh, I've been hurt so many times and just constantly angry and resentful at past relationships and past people. These people have hurt me. You don't understand. I can't get past this. I can't get out of this hole. I'm so depressed and anxious because all these things happened to me. And I've been there. So I'm saying this, I've been there too. And I was there for a long time. And that really kind of was like the filter through which I saw the world. So when we see the world through that filter, guess what? Guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to come to us? More of that, because we're expecting to attract the assholes. We're expecting to get into a toxic relationship. We're expecting to get involved with one of the players or, whatever it is. And so, and I just totally, I said, hi everybody. And I'm just totally lost my train of thought on that one. So it was a realization that I had to look at the common denominator in all these relationships and what was really happening. I had to get out of that victim spiral that I was in and say, okay, I have to just take the emotional charge out of it, which is me being upset, me being pissed off, me feeling like, I wasn't ever going to get this relationship right and there was no hope, and that healthy relationships were meant for other people who had their shit together. It clearly wasn't meant for me, whatever. I had to just kind of step out of that shit for a minute and say, what is the common denominator in all those crappy relationships? And guess what? Here's the hard part. It was me. I was the common denominator in all the relationships that went wrong. Even the ones where somebody did something to me. And I'm not saying that I did something wrong, like not gaslighting myself, like, oh, I must have done something wrong to attract that, or I must have done something wrong to make that person treat me that way. Nope, not saying that at all, okay? I'm coming from a place of empowerment here, not from disempowerment, okay? So no. There are some shitty things that happen to me. Like there's some shitty things that happened to you and that weren't fucking fair. And I did acknowledge those things, but I also wanted to take the lessons out of them. I'm like, okay, I'm not learning, I'm not getting this right. What do I need to know? I had to surrender to the universe that the divine was doing this with me for a reason. And it was something I had to learn and had to know. So what am I supposed to know? And it came to me that, and doing work with different courses that I was taking and different coaches I was working with. I mean, this isn't a journey you should be doing alone, because when we're in that victim spiral or the downward spiral of stress, we often we can't sometimes see the light through the trees. So we need someone else's perspective to kind of light us back up again. It means your light got dimmer. Okay. So I had to learn that I was the common denominator, and that, that I was the one who had to break this pattern. Like somehow my energy was going out there and attracting relationships that didn't serve me. Somehow they were. And when I was in the relationships, I would not listen to my higher self. I would ignore my intuition, and I would stick around way longer than I should have because I wasn't, either my standards weren't high enough for myself. Not an insult to anybody else, just they weren't high enough for myself. I knew things didn't feel good, and I was ignoring what felt good to me and just kind of going with the flow, or molding myself into whatever person I thought that the guy wanted, instead of saying, wow, this doesn't feel aligned to me, or this isn't me. And I didn't put up boundaries when people treated me a certain way. I didn't put up the boundaries and say, no, fuck no. Like I just dealt with it. And so, and I continued in that kind of downward spiral mindset. But that empath mindset, which can be also very deceiving. Oh, I have to show my love. If I love them enough, if I give them my energy and I work and heal them, then they'll love me because I will help them to heal. It's just their old stuff that's making them do that to me. I'm going to be an empath, a super mega empath, and I'm going to heal these guys, and then they're going to be like, oh, it's all going to be beautiful. And no, did not happen. Why? Because when I attracted the relationship in the first place, my vibration was in a certain place. My energetic vibration was in a certain place. And I attracted exactly what I was available for. And I had to go, oh shit, how do I now become no longer available for that? How do I become no longer available for that? First, I had to believe. Okay, so here's how this worked for me. And that's advice that I would give to empaths. First of all, I had to believe with all of my being that I was capable of, that I was available for, because oftentimes we think we're attracting emotionally unavailable people, but if you have to do the tough inner work, do the shadow work, okay? I had to do some shadow work, that's one thing, and realize where my pain was coming from. If I'm attracting a relationship that is toxic, then clearly I have some toxic energy within me that's attracting that person to me, meeting at the same energetic, like attracts like, okay? So I'm not saying like I'm abusive or mean, but there was something about my energy that was allowing that to be attracted to me, and I was in bringing it together. So I had to look at the shadow, and usually it's not that person. It usually doesn't start with that person that's hurting you. It starts further back. So further back somewhere, you developed a belief about yourself that you weren't worthy of anything better, or that something better or healthier was not an option, or you just didn't have an example of anything better. Maybe you grew up in an environment where your parents had a toxic relationship, or your siblings, or outside people that you hung out with. Maybe that's all you learned. So whatever you learned, the belief was formed that this is the kind of relationship you're energetically available for, what you deserve, and what is possible. Okay, so I had to do some shadow work to figure out where the hell my beliefs about relationships were coming from and why I was emotionally unavailable. It wasn't necessarily them. They were available for what I was putting out. Like they were giving me the best they could, okay, with what I was putting myself out there for. And so, or responding to the energy that I was putting out. And I know like this triggers some people, and I'm sorry if people are like, well, I didn't, ask for, people to be like verbally abused or physically abused or, sexually assaulted or abused. I get it, because I was there, all those things. Those all happened to me, okay? And that doesn't excuse that behavior. It doesn't minimize it or trivialize it, or it doesn't say that it didn't suck and that's horrible, because sometimes horrible things happen. But if I'm going to move forward and move out of that space, all I knew was I didn't want that shit happening anymore. I had to get to a place where I was like, I'm done with that. And in order for that not to happen to me anymore, I had to change. It wasn't about them. I had to make the shifts. So I did the work to say, where am I coming from that I'm attracting these relationships? Like what in my energy is bringing this in, right? Because, well, I'll get there. And then I had to really look at that and do that work. And then I had to believe that a healthy, fulfilling, amazing relationship was possible for me, that I was capable of it, that I had to be able to visualize the relationship that I wanted. I couldn't even do that for a while. I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even picture what it looked like. I never really had a great example of it. And I had learned very early on that I felt men weren't trustworthy because my parents had a very, very difficult relationship, and there was infidelity there. My mother had, I think a very tough attitude towards men as well, very mistrusting. and also towards women as well. So I really didn't know like who to trust. So I shut myself off. Even though I was an empath and very energetically available and I had capacity for great feeling and great love, I found myself often putting that love towards people who were going to dick me over, because that's exactly what I learned. So that's what I was just repeating, an old pattern that was not cool and not for my highest good, but was comfortable. It was a comfort zone. Okay. So, there you go. So then, after I did that, I did my shadow work. I really just visualized what I did want, and I believed that it was possible for me. Then I had to learn how to become energetically available for the relationship that I wanted. And how did I do that? Then after the shadow work, then I had to reprogram myself. So I had to do the things to raise my vibration, which meant finding my joy again, finding my bliss, turning on my goddess energy that was kind of like really kind of dimmed down. I had to really be in touch with what I truly wanted, what I truly desired in a relationship, and be unafraid and unapologetic about declaring that. I really didn't. I really felt like I was serving everybody else in every relationship, whether it was family, romantic relationships, whatever. I felt like I was kind of like just there to serve, and I was there to kind of adapt to whatever everyone else was doing. And I was not really declaring my own needs. I wasn't declaring what I really wanted. I wasn't really setting any boundaries. I wasn't, I just wasn't, setting the standards, setting the bar high enough for myself, which is the other thing, is that first it's falling in love with you. It's falling in love with yourself first. And I had to go through this. I had to really get comfortable without being in a relationship. I think where empaths get tripped up is they look at the relationship as like, you complete me. Okay. Like that was really cute in the Jerry Maguire movie. That was really sweet when Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger had that little scene where like it was like, you complete me. But that's not the mindset you really want when it comes to relationship. You want two complete people coming together. When you're attracting those lower vibrational relationships, that's usually what it is. It's codependency. An incomplete person looking to be completed by someone else. Two people that are looking for their pain to be healed by someone else, or looking to project their pain onto someone else. And it doesn't mean like there's not going to be stuff for these complete people to deal with. We're always learning, we're always growing, so that's not going to stop. But you want two people who feel complete with themselves to come together in a relationship. It's not you complete me, it's I'm complete and you're icing on the cake, right? So that's what you want to do. So how are you going to do that? You're going to fall in love with yourself first. You are going to be your best soulmate. That might mean you're spoiling yourself, taking yourself out to dinner, buying yourself flowers. You are absolutely just whatever you want to do. You're just indulging in your self-care. You're treating yourself the way you would want your soulmate to be treating you, because energetically, you're going to attract that person who can treat you that way. If you're already doing it, then that's what you're energetically putting out there, which I wasn't doing in my teens and 20s. I wasn't treating myself with high standards and high respect. So guess what? So that's, so treat yourself that way, set the bar, and then attract that. And then just, there we go. It takes time and practice. What I would say, this takes time and practice. I know it might sound nuts, right? Like how do I, what? But you can do this. You didn't develop these patterns yesterday. They took years. So it's going to take some time to deprogram and be energetically available for your soulmate relationship. This isn't about twin flame. Okay, that's a whole other thing, and I don't know if that's necessarily what you want to attract. A lot of misconceptions about twin flame relationships. I'm talking about soulmate, where you have all the things. You have all the sex and the passion. You're best friends. You are committed to one another completely through the ups and the downs and the goods and the bads. And you get along really well. You make each other laugh. You can cry with each other. You can just be yourself with that person. And that's it. It's possible. It's not just for the movies. That does happen. Sometimes the movies like portrays it in a way that's not realistic, but that type of love is absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible. And here's what I want to say about that. And I think sometimes where we get tripped up is, and we get trained, our culture trains us to want that relationship to complete us. Like Disney movies. You ever watch Disney movies? Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, what do they need? They need the guy, the prince on the white horse to come and save them. And then once they're saved, now my life is so good. Before I was like bummed. I was living a shit life. Now that he's here, it's all good. He saved me. We're together, and they live happily ever after. I think that is just contributes to the bullshit programming about relationships, whether you're empath or not, that we deal with. And the truth is, and here's the way I see those movies, and the way, if you read the actual fairy tales that those movies were made from, there's the woman, the princess, goes through a really tough journey, like really ups and downs. They kind of like, they make it simple in the movies. They dumb it, they water it down. She goes through some tough stuff. You read Grimm's fairy tales, the originals, not the watered down versions, the originals, they go through some stuff. And then the prince comes and does rescue them, or just joins with them, and they live happily ever after. But the way I look at that is, it's like your spiritual journey. Empaths, like you are living your own fairy tale. Know that this relationship's like your own fairy tale. You're going to go through the ups and downs, like the warriors, the hero's journey, the warrior's journey. You're going to get tested, you're going to go through the fire, you're going to come out and learn the lessons. You're going to go through another fire, you're going to learn the lessons. And then you're joined with, the prince, but the prince is really you. The prince is your higher self, okay? I should have just done a whole video just on this. So the princess, is your ego self. The prince is your higher self, and they come together in the end. She finally goes through all the tests, and then she's finally available to meet her higher self, and they live happily ever after. Why? Because she's finally her true authentic self. She's her true authentic self, and she's now joined with her divine higher self and can live from that space and feel complete, because that's who completes you, your higher self and you, not someone else. So I feel like that is actually, if you look at the fairy tales, to me, that is the true meaning of that. So think of that. You're looking for your knight in white shining armor, or knight in shining armor on the white horse, but that's your higher self. So do the things to connect to your higher self. That is raising your vibration. That is doing things that light you up. That is getting in touch with your authentic desires. And that is doing things that help you to feel good, right? Or fulfilling to you in your life. That is setting boundaries. That is taking care of yourself, body, mind, and soul. Those are all the things. Those are meditating, having the quiet space to get in touch with your higher self, having your spiritual practices, all those things, okay? That's your fairy tale. That's what you want to come home to. Okay, but it is possible for empaths to have healthy, amazing, incredible, on fire relationships. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today, that it's so possible, and you can do this. You just going through those steps like I talked about, and I know there's way more to it. So if you need support or help with that, just message me. This is what I do. I empower or help to empower. I don't say I empower, because you're already empowered by default. It's within you. All the answers are there. But I help to light up empath and highly sensitive and intuitive women to create a life they're obsessed with, or that they love. And part of that is the relationships, okay? Part of that is love, and getting grounded and centered. And then you truly can create what you want. So that's the dealio, my friends. And I hope that helped you. If you have any questions about anything that I said, or if anything resonated with you, or you're on this journey and you want to share something about it, or ask any questions, message me privately. You can comment on this video and tag me, or you can post on my page. You can also join my private Facebook group, The Awakened Empath. It's super fun. I'm doing a series in December about spiritual awakening. Today was reigniting your inner fire. That might be kind of good if you're dealing with relationship issues too. And I also have 2 programs that begin in January and February. January 1st, we're going right in there. Like thank you, Christmas and the holidays. Yeah, we're good with that. 2019, here we go. We're going to get right into it. 2020, January is all about kicking fear to the curb. So kicking all of your doubts, fears, and old stories, just like the ones you might have about relationships, okay? All those beliefs, kicking those to the fucking curb. And then realigning your energy. I'm going to do a chakra clearing for the group and talk about the chakras and how your energy centers can affect how you feel about certain areas of your life. And then moving into a realignment. So now you can declare what you're energetically available for. Oh, and you might want to know what that is. So you get to know what it is, and you get to declare it. And that's what Becoming Fearless as Fuck, my January program, is going to be about. 4-week intensive in a private Facebook group with moi. And we're going to be doing this. In February, it's Becoming Intuitive as Fuck, which is a program, Empaths 2. If you want to learn how to nurture your gifts, if you're like, shit, I know I feel, I know I have senses, and I can see see things and I can hear things and I know things, but what the hell do I do with it? Becoming intuitive as fuck is going to help you to break out of that, like the fear around growing your gifts, right? So you won't be worried about what, people think, about what your church would say. You're not going to get rid of those fears. You're going to declare yourself a light worker or an empath or an intuitive, and you're going to learn what are your gifts, what are your specific gifts, okay? What gifts feel like they're totally aligned with you. There are different gifts that psychics can have, different senses. What are your dominant senses? How do you connect with your spirit guides? How do you connect with angels? How do you connect with the other side? How do you do this? How do you have energy management rituals so you know what you're available for, what you're not? And how to cleanse and clear, going through the chakras again. How do the chakras affect your ability to be as intuitive as possible? And then how to do readings for people. You're going to read cards. You're going to read without cards. You're going to do pendulums, whatever. There are many different ways to do readings. How to do readings for yourself and others. And we're going to practice in the group a lot so you get support. And then it's like, how do you step out? How do you use your intuition to create the life that you really want? How do you use your intuition so that you can feel like you're not living somebody else's life that somebody else wanted, and you're like, in your 30s or 40s or 50s, and you're like, oh shit, like, is it too late for me? No, it's not. No, it's not. You need to just get your prince, your higher self, your prince on the horse. You just have to reacquaint yourself and live happily ever after with your higher self. Trust me, that's the only way. It really is. I shouldn't say the only way. I mean, wherever your soul wants to develop is where your soul is meant to develop in this lifetime. And it's all good and it's all perfect. There's nothing wrong, no right or wrong with what you're doing. But it feels most fulfilling and empowering when we're totally in alignment with our intuition. If not, it's confusing. Life is confusing, it's chaotic, or we create a life that's not authentically ours. Like I did that in my 20s and 30s. I totally based my life on everybody else's opinions of what I should do, and I totally ignored my higher self in relationships, in career. I just totally ignored my gut and just went with what made sense or what we were supposed to do or what I thought we should do or what makes my mom happy or proud of me, and I totally just created a life that was not mine, and I kind of lost my shit in my mid to late 30s, and I blew my life up and I changed everything. So if I can help you on this journey, that's what my goal is, because I want as many light workers to feel empowered and to use your gifts to create amazing shit in your own life. But if you want to go out and build a business, like a light worker business, I'm going to help you in the last week of becoming intuitive as fuck. I'm going to give you some tips if you want to get started doing readings for other people, for paid readings, how to do that. How to do it with just bare bones. Like you don't have to build a website. You don't have to do fancy dancy shit. You can just do it bare bones like I did when I first started. So I will go through all that with you guys. So you'll come out of if you do both, becoming fearless as fuck and intuitive as fuck, I guarantee you will have some trouble. I can't make any guarantees because you have to do the work, right? So disclaimer, I can just give you, I can just kind of walk with you on the journey and give you some inspiration. You have to walk through the door though. So, but if you choose to do all that, you'll be fucking transformed. You'll be fucking transformed. You'll be ready to grab 2020 by the balls and do whatever you want with it. Or if you just take one or the other, you're still going to have some sort of transformation where you're a different person than when you started, and you're going to feel more connected. So if any of that sounds good to you, then comment below, message me. And I'm also going to I put links in the comments somewhere. If you scroll up or down, you'll see it. A comment from me that has a link to enroll right now. If you're like, shit, save my spot now. Because I think in Becoming Fearless as Fuck, there's only 7 more spots left. Becoming Intuitive as Fuck, there are more. So there are, I believe, 11 spots left in that. So get your ass in there if that's something you want to do. It's time, right? It's time, damn it. So click on the link. It gives you all the price plans and the pay in full and the pricing payment plans and all that shit. So you got, anything else, ask. I love you guys so much. I so appreciate your time, because your time is your greatest resource, or a valuable resource. So I appreciate you. And I'm here for you. Come on over to the Awakened Empath. Come hang out. Tomorrow we have live Q&A. So that's fun too, over in the group. And I love you. I will see you next time. High vibes, my friends.